Is not getting a new 4-star character every single patch a bad thing for Honkai style role players? And I'll go ahead and give you the quick answer to that now. Yes. It is a bad thing, but not for everyone. Because I feel like this topic is a very big, gray area. This has a very big gray area. Because on one hand, for one group of players, this is really good, right? Oh, we're getting a new character every patch. And on another hand, it's not good. So we're going to be talking about today, what players is this good for? What players is this bad for? Why is it good? Why is it bad? And this will even touch on like a bigger overarching problem with just gacha games in general, because this plagues every single gacha game, regardless if you're Hoyoverse, Lilith Games, whoever the Net Marble the most though, let's be honest. And no, I'm not talking about our big, bodacious, MILF, mommy milker waifus getting added to the game like Jade, okay? They're not the problems, alright? But I will say a pretty smart marketing strategy here is naming Jade a big booby mommy waifu, the same name as the premium currency we have in the game, so it makes people feel like, well, her name is Jade, and I do have Jades on my account, so I might as well just put my Jades for the character version of my Jades. So, yeah, very good Hoyoverse on that one. But with that little gusher out of the way from Mommy Jade, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. Not that many of you are subscribed, and it's probably best to mention this within the first portion of the video here, so you can go ahead and do that now as we hop into the rest of the video now. Hope that transition worked. If it didn't, you'll be seeing this. So with scooting my chair back, let's talk about first, what player group is this good for, right? What player group is getting new characters good for? In-game players. In-game players this is going to be the creme de la creme, right? Getting 4 stars for in-game players is like adding basically an extra reward to the banners, right? Because if we think about it, right? If we've been playing the game for a whole year, most late game players have been playing for at least 6 months, probably have a good amount of like the 4 stars already maxed out, already C6 or E6 in this game, I guess. But most long-term players already have these characters maxed out. That means now when we're going to summon on these banners, we don't have as much, I guess, to pull for realistically, because we're just pulling for the 5 stars now. We're not pulling for the 4 stars at all. We're not pulling for someone else to play with. There's no other incentive really. I mean, I guess your rewards getting like the Stardust or whatever to get extra pulls, maybe that's an incentive. Me personally, I see it as an incentive when I lose a 50-50, but other than that, I don't. Like if I go on a banner, right, and see, oh, well, it has all these good 4 stars on it, but they're all E6 already. There is like, it basically makes me not want to pull in the banner as much because the 4 stars aren't as prevalent on the banner. Now, obviously, I'm going for the 5 star on that banner, but it makes me not feel as good about summoning, right? Whereas I feel like for new players, this is super good, right? I feel like with the addition of a new character every single patch really expands the roster out, which is, like I said, good for all players all around, right? Expanding the roster is always good because it gives you more versatile units to use. It gives you more options to use without going, you know, you have to run QQ, Bronya, Tingyun, and a Sustain here. You have to run all these characters exactly, because when you add new characters into the game, you can be like, well, you can run Tingyun or this character, you can run Bronya or Sparkle, right? And I think that is a good thing all around, but I think for new players, not adding extra 4 stars into the game allows them time to catch up to where other players are at, right? Because by increasing the amount of gacha characters in a pool, it can actually be quite bad, and I think this is a really bad trend we see in games. Biggest example here, Cookie Run Kingdom. Cookie Run Kingdom has rate up, but the problem with that is there are so many characters in a banner, right? And with 4 stars in particular, they throw every single 4 star in the banner, right? The more 4 stars you add, the less chance you have of getting a duplicate for a character, and you have to have a bigger roster to build out, right? So say you're pulling on a banner, right, that has 3 featured units. If you don't hit the 50-50, then you're going to pull a character that you don't even know if you need or if you've even used before, haven't even leveled up, right? Or better yet, now, since there's so many 4 stars in the game, if you're looking for a rate up on a certain 4 star, you're probably gonna have to wait months now to get a rate up on the 4 star that you want. And now let's say that, oh, there's this 5 star that I want, but oh my god, the 4 star on this banner, they're trash. Like Adventurine's banner, oh my god, these units are god awful. What am I gonna do with them? That's the same way that happens with 4 stars, right? Some people want good value in 5 stars and good value with 4 stars, and I think not adding in extra characters to that summoning pool actually does help out newer players more than it helps out later game players. And that kind of describes who this is good for, who this is bad for. Let's talk about why this is good and why this is bad. I think I kind of mentioned this before. It kind of disincentivizes later game players to summon on banners. Obviously, at the end of the day, like I said, we're summoning on the banners because they're 5 stars, but having new 4 stars is always fun too, because that's extra, I wouldn't say content, because I don't consider characters content. That allows you to have a new vertical of playing the game, right? So you have your same old sustained characters. Oh, maybe I want to switch it up. Maybe I want to use a Gallagher, right? Well, now you have a Gallagher to use, right? Whereas Whereas if there wasn't any like added new 4-stars to the game, you would just be using the same thing on repeat every single time. It gives us new things to test. It gives us more things to do in the game. As much as I don't like to say characters are content, you can make content out of the characters, which is, yeah, you know what I mean by that. And now reiterating again on how this is bad. It increases the gacha pool, right? Which when a new free-to-play player or a new player in general starts the game now, right? Whereas having say 15 4-stars in the game, now you have 20 or 30 in the game now, right? You're getting so many spread out options in terms of what 4-stars you're getting, right? So that's also giving them thoughts in their head. Well, I have all these characters. Do I have to build them now? And I'm not saying that they shouldn't use their brain and not build every character, but when you just start playing gacha games, right? And let's be honest, Hoyoverse games are the introductory games for most gacha game players. So let's just put in our mindset like that. People aren't coming from FGO. People aren't coming from Dokkan Battle. People aren't coming from 7 Deadly Sins. They're coming because they see a cool mobile game on their app store and playing the game. And then when they get a character, they're probably like, oh, well, I just need to build this character. It's a new character. I need to build them now. So it makes them feel like they have to build these characters, which means they're wasting resources in these characters. And Honkai doesn't have, you know, systems like other games have of resetting characters, resetting level, getting those resources back. You spend the resources, you're done though. You can only get a limited amount of resources. So this is another reason why it's bad. On top of increasing the gacha pool in general, that means you're going to be getting less eye-launch for characters. So now when they go watch build guides and it goes, yeah, you probably want at least E6 for this character. Well, there's no guarantee of you getting E6 for that character, even on a featured banner with that character, because you already have 3 characters on that banner. But now you're having to sift through a huge gacha pool to even have a chance of getting that character when they're not on the signature 5-star banner, on the like feature units for that banner, and so on and so forth, right? So it just makes the game harder to play for free-to-play players. I guess I keep saying free-to-play, I mean like early game players, right? And it does affect free-to-play players because they're not going to have as many summons as someone that's spending money on the game would have. So with all of that out of the way, what is the bigger issue that plagues the gacha community? What's the bigger issue that plagues gacha games in general? And that is the disparity between late game players and early game players. As a gacha game, you generally want to keep your audience happy, right? Well, I take that back. As a gacha game, to continue growing, you want to keep the new player experience happy. But on the other hand, you have your fat giga whales or your late game players that play your game every day, create content for your game, and keep it up, that who you appeal to, right? And I feel like by adding stuff onto, I feel like it's hard to add to both sides at the same time, right? It's like, well, we can add new characters to the game, because now late game players will have a fun time playing with these new characters. Yippee, they already have every character in the game. They love it when they get new characters. And on the other hand, it's like, well, we also want a fun new player experience for these characters, so let's do the Cookie Run Kingdom approach and just make all of the story mode dog shit easy. Or let's make Genshin dog shit easy and make it as casual as possible. So it's easier for people to be inducted into this game or indoctrinated into this game, and they'll be playing the game for longer because they're not having to struggle. People like taking the path of least resistance. If there's not much resistance in the game, if there's not much resistance to how many resources you have, if there's not much resistance to how much we can build characters or just complete content in general, it'll keep people playing the game. Why do you think Genshin Impact is so popular? There is no challenge with the game, so people want a casual experience. They play that game. There are much more casual players in the world than there are hardcore players. A lot of people, most people like taking that path of least resistance, and the least resistance you can add into, I guess, just the complexities of the game in general, right? Now, if you're adding like these really niche characters, like these really niche 4-stars to do, oh, well, this helps this certain group of characters out really, really well, opposed to having general characters like when the game first released. Asta, give speed boost, gives attack boost. Who not need speed attack? Or Tenyu, give attack, give energy? Oh my god! Oh, Bronya, give extra turn? Like, that's the thing I'm talking about, right? These are characters of least resistance. That's why when games release, you release characters with very low investment characters, or I guess you could say very low thinking characters, low brow characters. Maybe they have a higher skill ceiling, right? You can get them to a higher skill ceiling, but their basic kit is very simple to break down, simple to learn, and simple to use. Now let's compare that to a character, let's say Acheron, right? They came out in 2.1. Now Acheron, I think, is great for free-to-play players. I'm not discounting for that. I'm going to cherry pick a couple things out of our kit here to explain why characters now are getting more complex and a lot harder to enter in for new free-to-play players. Whereas when we just started out, what do you give Zila? You give her extra turns, you give her attack percentage, you give her crit damage bonus, have a fun day, right? With Acheron, she needs debuffers on the team, right? She has to have debuffers to get her ultimate off. That means we eliminate the option of running these more basic characters. Now I need more nuanced characters that can do debuffs as well as a sub DPS level of damage. Maybe do some cool debuffs on the enemy. On top of that, you need sustainability for that team, but you also want your sustainer to have effects that they can put debuffs on the enemy as well. oh, but now you also need 2 inhility characters on the team to actually activate this passive in our kit that does this and this and this right here. And when these passives get longer, right? When you first get passives, they're like this big. Now our passives are fucking this big, bro. I can't even get a screenshot of some of these passives to put in my build guide videos because they're so damn long, okay? Now, all in all, that's what the gray area is, right? You add all this complexity to appeal to your late game players. And yes, your early game players, if they stick with the game, can get to that. But the thing is, right, and why I made the video the other day talking about, you know, the MOC, why it could be bad for the game. It could be bad for new players because it adds an extra path of resistance. Now, when people see the in-game content, they're like, I have to beat 3 different things now? And that's the thought process they have, and they drop the game. And what happens when people drop the game? Sales drop. What happens when people drop the game? The interest in the game drops. So that's the point I'm trying to make here. There's a very fine line with every single gacha game out there of appealing to the early game audience, appealing to the late game audience. I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing. For me, as a player that's been playing for a while, I don't like not seeing new 4-stars added to the game, right? Now, I get it, right? If they have absolutely banger banners, unlike Mr. Adventurine's banner, if they have absolutely banger banners and add in no 4-star, hey, yo, I'm fine with that. Give the new players a great experience, right? And I think that's what they should be. When there's no new 4-stars added into the game, there should be absolute banger 4-stars on that banner to really make up for it. But now we're not getting a 4-star in 2.1 and 2.2. Let's be honest. There's no way you're putting absolute bangers on 4 different character banners, okay? Anyways, guys, my rant's done. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing if we're not getting 4-stars added to the game? But the real question here is, if you're an early game player, does it incentivize you more to pull on these banners knowing we're not getting extra 4-stars added to the game, or for right now anyways, or does it de-incentivize it more if you're a late game player? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I would love to hear what other people think. These are just my thoughts. Have a good one. I'll see you later in the next one. Subscribe, please, if you haven't already. I didn't get a Venturine yet, by the way, so that's cringe. Bye.